أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. It's right what you're saying. The only thing is that could it be that a righteous son or offspring would not pray for their parents? So, is there such a thing that someone who is pious, someone who is good offspring, they would not pray for their parents? Do we have something like this? Is it possible that they are both decent individuals and pious individuals and they don't pray for their parents? Is it possible? So there is necessity, as per common knowledge, that if they are pious and if they are good offspring, they would pray for their parents. Is to do qiyam, to stand up when doing takbirat al-ihram, which is Allahu Akbar for salah, for the beginning of salah, and when you stand up after ruku', is this a pillar of salah? So if someone does takbir and he goes to sujood to do prostration, if he does the first and second prostration and he hasn't done ruku', then his salah is batil, is invalid. But if he before the second sajda, if he realizes that he hasn't done ruku', then he should stand up and do ruku' and then go back and do sujood. So if he doesn't stand up right after ruku' completely, then that salah is batal again. So this standing upright during takbir and after ruku', it's a pillar and it's necessary for the salah to be valid. the issue of whether debt affects the ability to perform Hajj, istita'a. So the financial ability, it's is as per common sense, as per urf. So if someone has borrowed money and then he will pay back in 10 years time, he can't use this debt, this loan to perform Hajj because he doesn't become mustati'. So he only, but if he gains money through a trade, then he can use that. So if he has borrowed money and he can't use the loan money. As for the second question, as for ghusl of Friday ghusl, and there is this difference of opinion among scholars. And if you see the commentaries on the Urwa, there are various comments and there are different. So performing ghusl from the sunset of Saturday until the end of the week, this will be qaza for the Friday ghusl. And some people say no, from the day of Saturday. So there's a difference of opinion among scholars on this, as to when it will be ada and when it will be qaza. So in barzakh, the one who has perfect or good iman, they will be blessed, and those who are kafir, they will be punished. As to for if there are worships in there, it is apparently from riwayat, it is salutation of Muhammad wa Muhammad, salawat ala Muhammad wa Muhammad, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. If one has debt, let's say 10 million to man, and then and this is khums year and he has 10 million. So if he pays back his debt before the khums year, then he doesn't have any money left and therefore he doesn't have to pay khums. If he doesn't pay the debt and he still has the 10 million by the khums year, then he has to pay the khums. So because that will be the gain that he's made. If he hasn't paid the debt, that gain remains in his possession, therefore he has to pay khums. But if he pays the debt, then obviously no money is left for him, and therefore he doesn't have to pay any khums. I don't know. We need to see what Ahlul Bayt have to say about this, because we have two sources in the Book of Allah and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, as the Prophet said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Yeah, it's acceptable. It's acceptable. I said there is association and necessity between them. So that we're talking. No, I'm not talking about cause and effect, but a good, decent, pious sibling would offspring would pray for their parents. Inshallah, khair. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. Thank you very much. In this case, it's mentioned in jurisprudence books, and there are a number of narrations about this. It is well known amongst scholars that it is makruh. But some of the scholars have said it is haram. There are narrations which discourage that.
یعنی غایت مغسوله نه غایت غسله، غایت عیدیه نه غایت اغسله، یعنی ایدی المرافق را بشورید.
This is in reference to the making wudu when it says to the elbows. It is not saying
فقط انتهای مغسوله، یعنی دست تا مرفق. وقتی بگن
it's talking about the hand up to the elbow
بالا تا مرفق، نه ظاهرش اینه از پایین تا مرفق
should be washed. And does that mean up to, does that mean from the top to the elbow or from the bottom to the elbow? It doesn't say from where do we start in the Quran, and that's why we have to refer to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. We have the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I leave behind Allah's book and my family, the Itra. And the Itra, Ahlul Bayt have said that it is from the elbow downwards should be. We have various narrations in this respect. From the elbow, beginning from the elbow, the washing process should begin from the elbow down to the fingertips. Yes, the others, non-Shia don't do it this way. That's because of various, as for many other differences. But from narration from Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam specifically say the washing process should start from the elbow down to the fingertips. When it is said this is about shaving the head of the newborn and giving its weight as gold and silver, it's meant to be not necessarily the actual gold and silver, but it could be the value. As far as I can remember, it's only one of the scholars. This no is forbidding. Only the Sheikh Sharia said is, but other scholars they say it's not forbidding, but it's negating. La darar is to do with the obligations, the rules, and la darar is to do with the people, other people. So la darar means about the rulings of the Sharia. If that causes harm to the individual, then they would be waived. Therefore, it's not wajib. So it's whether if standing is too hard for salah, then it's not wajib, and it's also for fasting the same thing. If it's harmful, it's not wajib. So this applies to the individual himself. So it's Mullah Ahmad Naraqi in his book Musnad al-Shia, he has made such claim, but it's many scholars it's contrary to the opinions of the scholars. Even his teachers and his students don't accept it. So they say all of these are negating, not forbidding.
ببخشید یه لحظه. بله أي المستحدث في العرض، عرض المسعى لا يجوز. أما هالصبح في المسجد المتصل بالمسجد لا يجوز الدخول في المسجد.
No, it's if there are extension, then it's not permissible.
لا الفقهاء يذكروا أتصور لعله إجماع أكو عند الشيعة بأنه
Scholars mention this.
في العرض لا يدخل المسجد الحرام منا ولا يدخل بل بالكل الطوابق. أنا نظري أنه إشكال ما بي.
It's if you go on the Grand Mosque in Mecca, if you go on the different levels, in my opinion, it's not. There's no objection to it. On the various levels, higher up, higher than the ground floor.
ما من عام إلا وقد خص إلا ضرر عام دیگه تخصیص داره.
Here there are generic issues. The issue is generic. It's not specific. We have specific cases where they say jihad is wajib, khums is wajib. So there is no problem with that, because if we have something in general and there is something in specific, which then we'll stick to that specific when it comes to it. Sheikh has said that this doesn't constitute darar or harm.
سئل عن الإمام الرضا سلام الله عليه.
Imam Rida alayhi salam was asked that these signs for the reappearance of the Imam, is it possible that they don't happen, these signs don't happen, are not realized, and Imam appears? He said yes. Is it possible that these signs for reappearance are not realized and the Imam appears? He said yes. And then, is it possible that the Imam wouldn't appear at all? He said no. So he said, what's the difference between these two? The Imam Rida said, these signs are warnings to the people, and not doing the sign, not doing the warnings is a virtue, is not a failing. But the reappearance of the Imam is a promise, and Allah keeps His promise. Not to keep the promise is keeping the promise is a virtue, and not keeping it is not. So it's possible that the Imam appears without all the signs, even all those signs which are definitive, they could not be realized, and the Imam appears, because still they are warnings. It's like, for example, if you pass on the exam, I'll give you a prize. If he doesn't give the prize, this will be a shame, because he promised him he would do that. On the other hand, if the father said, if you don't pass the exam, I won't let you in the house. So if he doesn't pass and he lets him in the house, is this a virtue? Yes, of course. So even though he won't, he wouldn't let him, but he still did let him in, and this is considered a virtue. Same goes with these.
نفس هذا الشيء يعني معناه أنه لو لم يكمل العدد لا يظهر الإمام، هذا وعيد. فممكن أنه
So this is the same thing. If the number is not realized, the number of the ashab and so on, the imam would. This is a warning. And it could be that the imam appears without realizing this. This warning or any other warning. I recommend not to do that. My recommendation is against that.
نماز اعاده کنه. اگر نماز که سلام داد همون وقت یادش بود یه سجده بکنه.
If he does the salam, then he remembers, then he does one sajda and his salah is right. But if a long time passes and he realizes that he only did one sajda and not two, then he has to repeat the salah, because doing one sajda is not enough and it invalidates the salah.
نه خودش ببینید مکروهه، محرمات که نیست.
No, this is makruh. This is discouraged. It's not haram.
میدونم. اگر عنوان غیبت شد که حرامه، چه سر به گوشی باشه چه علنی باشه، فرق نمیکنه.
If it's backbiting and ghiba, then it's haram.
همین این نهی کراهته. نه یعنی اگه تو گوشی میخواد بگه که از من برو به فلان پول به فلان کس بده، این اشکال نداره.
So if he whispers in his ears to say, give this money on my behalf to such and such, there is no objection to that.
ما تابع دلیل هستیم. اگه حرف بد میزنه یعنی غیبتی که حرامه چه تو گوشی.
If he says something wrong, whether whispering or audibly in the open, if he says something which constitutes backbiting or ghiba, then it's haram. Sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tahir.
ولقد ثقلت مما فجروا والأرض لقد ملئت جورا ولقد ثقلت مما فجروا وشريعة أحمد قد درست ومعالمها سترى الغبر وشريعة أحمد قد درست ومعالمها سترى الغبر وطلوع جمالك ننتظر يا من بولائك يا آية الطهر يا إيمان يأوينا علما وفضلا وإنشاء وتكوينا الفراعنة يا آية الطهر يا إيمان يهوينا
ضر عنكم إذا فريق منكم بربهم يشركون
O Lord of majesty and splendor, of bounty and blessing and of great favor, and thou art the magnanimous, the generous, the tender, the compassionate. O God, give me amply of thy lawful provision. Bestow